Hello, and welcome to Accelerating Your AI Journey. I'm your host, Alexa Carlin, and today we're talking about the power of AI, specifically the power needed to develop, implement, and run AI in the data center and what that means with regards to sustainability. Joining me today is Scott Tease, Vice President and General Manager of Lenovo Infrastructure Solutions Group. So, welcome, Scott. It's so nice to have you here.
It's great to be here, Alexa. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to dive into the conversation.
Me too.
To start, just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I work at Lenovo. I've been there for about 10 years. I run all of our hardware portfolio for everything in the solutions group. So anything in a data center out at the edge, kind of enterprise business. One of the focus areas for us is sustainability. We're looking at how we can deliver, run the most sustainable IT in the industry. And that's a big part of what I do.
Yeah, interesting. So, what inspires you to be passionate about sustainability?
Well, so we got this great planet. I mean, I live in North Carolina. It's beautiful here. I want to make sure it's beautiful for many generations to come. So I want to make sure the devices that we're building here and all around the world are as limited impact on the environment as we possibly can. And one of the ways we can do that is through proper design. We can make sure the products are designed to be recycled at their end of life. We can close the supply chain loop on them. One of the big focus areas for the team and I is making sure that the products use as little power as possible. And you may say to yourself, why does power consumption matter? But if I look at all of our devices, whether it's, that ThinkPad right there or my Moto phone or a data center server, the number one contributor to CO2 is the power consumption. And the reason for that is over a life of a product, it uses a lot of power. All that power has got to be generated, and we generate it by burning fossil fuels, oil, gas, coal. Whenever we do that, we release carbon into the environment. So if I can build a product that uses less power, I'm automatically, reducing my impact on the environment. So that's a big part of the focus that we do at Lenovo.
Yeah, I mean, we're never going to get rid of, away from the power, essentially. It's just about minimizing it.
It's about minimizing it and also about, helping the grid itself go green. I mean, our goal is by 2040 to have a power grid that's based fully on renewable sources, things like solar and hydro and, all renewable power, non-emitting sources. But it's going to take a while to do that. If during that time we're making the migration to those green sources, we're adding all this new power consumption for things like electric vehicles and data centers, it just makes the journey even harder to go on.
So we're increasing our power usage, and then we're trying to decrease it on the grid line.
People often say, hey, 2040 is a long way off. When you think about our power grid,
Yeah.
I mean, it's taken years and years to build that. We've got to get rid of all the sources that burn coal and oil and natural gas and replace them with solar or hydro or any other type of non-emitting power. That takes a very long time. And already we're running into times where we don't have enough power. You see it through rolling brownouts through the summertime when the air conditioning's on everywhere, things like that. So it's a bad combination. We've really got to think smartly about the future and what's going to draw that power. And that's why we spend so much time at Lenovo focusing on the power consumption of all of our devices. So many ThinkPads and so many Moto phones and so many of the new data center servers that are consuming, a great deal of power. I want to make sure that, we're doing it more smartly. We're using every watt of power we get as smartly as we possibly can.
And that's so important because I would say a lot of people are so focused on innovation and making sure they're ahead of the curve, and they're just thinking about what tech they can create or what new AI application, but they don't also think about all the negative effects of that. But, because there's a lot of positive on the workplace productivity, but then we're talking about our planet here, and it doesn't really make a sense if we're not, taking care of where we're all living.
Yes, no doubt whatsoever. One thing I am confident of is some of the AI that we do and the high performance computing that we support at Lenovo. I know confidently that the research and the innovation that's going to come from that is going to make the world a better place. But as you say, we've got to make sure it's a sustainable place as well.
Yeah, that's so important. So, talking about this, about sustainability, what are you hearing from Lenovo customers regarding sustainability?
Yeah, we're hearing from a lot more than we used to about it as a topic. Being a global company, we're fairly fortunate. We get to talk to customers literally all over the world. Europeans have been kind of worried about sustainability and talking about it for quite some time. So they're probably our leading customers around the world when it comes to forward-thinking, thought-provoking, methods that we can do for energy efficiency and sustainability. So we listen to them. They're already, when they're asking for new IT, like when they're purchasing new IT, there's already a big section of that procurement document that covers sustainability.
Oh, so they ask about it before they even go and purchase.
Before they even purchase, they're already thinking about it.
I feel like that everybody should have that in their, formula of deciding.
It's getting more and more, and as power goes up, the challenges of finding power to power all this gear in a data center is getting more challenging, so it's kind of enforcing that behavior. One of the things we got going for us when it comes to sustainability is power comes at a cost. Every watt we burn is a certain amount of dollars or euros or what have you out of your pocket. So if I can convince people that there's economic benefit for them reducing their power consumption, they'll also get the sustainability benefits for free. The two go hand in hand. And I think that's going to help drive even more behavior towards this. Again, upfront thinking about how to buy a more sustainable IT infrastructure.
So focusing on sustainability can have a bigger ROI.
Oh, much, much bigger ROI. I mean, it'll have certainly, like I said, it'll have a much bigger ROI for the research that you're doing with it. Like, again, let's just think about an energy efficient building design. I can make sure that I'm not overheating it, overcooling it. I can make sure I understand where the sun's going to hit so that we know where we need to put extra insulation, all those kinds of things. AI and high performance computing, they can help us do that. Once that building's built, we're going to get a lifetime of benefit back from that initial research. So I have no doubt that you're going to see bigger benefit than the initial expense to set it up and the power it's going to consume. But again, we want to make sure that even from the very start, we're doing it better than others.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't do it from the start, it could, actually probably add more costs down the road.
Without a doubt. Yeah,
Okay.
power costs itself are going up considerably. I mean, if you look at going back to Europe again, 3x power costs in Germany,
Wow.
2.5 increase in power costs in the UK. They're really feeling the pain of what we're likely going to feel here in the US as we try to force the grid to go more green. It's going to be costly. The good news is as we reduce our power consumption, we're going to save our energy bill. If we're reducing our power costs, that means we can also invest in other initiatives. So if you go out to the Lenovo campus here in town, it is covered with solar panels.
Oh, really?
Every parking garage, every building, every lab. We power, other than some of the really high power labs, I think we power nearly everything at that campus with solar. And we've been able to do that
That's
because
amazing.
it is amazing. We've been able to do that because we've saved money by being in a more energy efficient building. Our building is LEED certified. So it means we're using less every month, and it allows us to put some investments into things like solar power and things like that. So, and more people have got to do that.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. That's really cool. I'd love to check it out.
Anytime.
They'll give me a tour?
Anytime.
Awesome.
Anytime.
So, what impact have you seen that, like, the widespread adoption of AI, how has it had an impact on data centers overall? Talking about, right, like, you're talking about how your buildings, really focused on sustainability, but now everyone's adding AI, which takes up a lot of power.
Power, yeah.
Right. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, maybe we should baseline a little bit on
There's
power.
a lot.
You know what? A lot. It's a lot.
Sure, it's
Let's
a lot.
baseline a little bit. Like so, if you think of a normal server in the data center, they cost about a kilowatt to run, a kilowatt of power to run that. So 1,000 watts. An AI server each one could easily be 10 to 12 kilowatts. So you're talking about 10 to 12 times more power per server to run an AI server, and people are installing lots of them right now. So you put all these servers together into a data center, and all of a sudden you've got a massive amount of power. So the first thing that customers are running into is where to put it. Like, where can I locate it where I actually can have enough power access? Like, I can't just run new wires from the street to my house. I need a power station to deliver that kind of power. So that's the first thing people are running into is, where am I going to actually place this? Where can I find the power to run it? The second is, most of our customers have sustainability goals of some type. They may be 2050 goals for being, carbon net zero by 2050, but this AI path is increasing power consumption. I've already mentioned that power is one of the big drivers of CO2. So it's causing them to rethink their sustainability goals. That's the second big thing. But I would say the data center side of it is like the most complex part of what we're seeing in the customer's mind. That's the one they're struggling with the most. It's just the finding data center space.
And what solutions has Lenovo come up with?
Yeah, so the first thing is just baselining what you've got. So one of the things Lenovo does do is they have data center servicing. We have services that go out and they'll actually size up what data center you have, what you need to get more efficient. We do a lot of that. We're actually taking people on a journey right now from an air-cooled data center to a liquid-cooled data center, and that's a unique skill Lenovo has. We've helped to hundreds of customers go from a traditional air-cooled data center into one of these new water-cooled data centers. And the reason we do that is air cooling it's inefficient.
Mhm.
Moving lots of air around a building, moving lots of air through a server to keep it cool costs a lot of power. If we do it with water, we can do it with warm water, so we don't have to chill the water. And it's a lot less energy to pump a little bit of water loop through a server and through the data center than it is to move massive amounts of air. So the first thing we typically look for is how much power reduction can we see through the move to water. And in a lot of these data center service things we're doing, we're seeing 40% reductions in the energy to run that data center. Just getting rid of air conditioning, 40% reduction. So really big, yeah.
That is really big. So, so is that proprietary to Lenovo?
Well, so we have this technology we call Lenovo Neptune,
Okay.
and that is proprietary. It's trademarked, and we're very proud of it. Other people are looking at liquid cooling, but we have some unique things we do. The biggest unique thing we have though is servicing it. Like again, people have been doing air cooled servers and air cooled devices for a long time. Migrating from air cooling to water cooling, it does take some insight and some knowledge. Our teams bring that. So that's a big part of what we do. But from a technical perspective, we're pretty unique. We use pure water to cool these servers. A lot of our competitors use glycols and different kinds of solvents, which may or may not be safe for us. They have to chill the water, which means you've got to pay to chill the water off to make it cold. We use hot water to actually cool a server. Believe it or not, the hot water heater that you have at your home to heat your hot water, it's probably about 140 degrees Fahrenheit. We can cool servers with water almost that hot.
Wow.
So it's really amazing technology. So
So-
what that means to the customers is they can use the water and not have to chill it, not have to pay the money to bring the temperature back down again. They can just send it back through the servers. It's a big power savings and again, great sustainability benefits.
Right. And savings to your bottom line.
Exactly. Again, you think about this. When you stand next to an air conditioner, you feel that air moving through. Imagine in a data center, you've got 1,000 times that air volume. Moving all that air has like causes a tremendous amount of fans, and all those fans consume a lot of power. With liquid cooling, we're taking a really small pipe and we're plumbing water to the server directly. The water's going over all the heat generating components, the processor, the memory, the networking, the power supply, and it's taking the heat directly out in the water loop and sending it back, to the cooling plant. So we're basically taking all that heat out of the data center with no air conditioning at all. No need for any air conditioning. So it's pretty cool tech.
That is really cool. How many people have adopted that so far?
Oh, hundreds of
Okay.
customers around the world.
Amazing.
Again, started in Europe, kind of our very first customers in Germany, but it's now gone global. And with AI driving more and more power, it's just bringing lots more customers to
Right.
to looking at this technology. So it's pretty exciting. It's a great time to be in IT.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
That actually brings me to a question I had about how are factors like rising energy prices and aging infrastructure compounding these challenges?
Yeah. So again, the biggest challenge most customers face is they're trying to adopt the big AI. Is where am I going to place it? Where am I going to put it?
Okay.
An AI data center could easily be hundreds of kilowatts, if not megawatts of power. These are as much as small cities, like small towns. That's the same amount of power that some of these data centers are consuming. It's massive amount. So where to put it? And a lot of people have these older data centers. So a big part of what Lenovo can do for them is come out, survey what they've got today, and figure out how we can retrofit it. That room, that data center you have is likely got a lot of value to it. We just got to figure out how to modernize it. And that's a lot of what the
So
does.
you're kind of like our architects of a data center.
We're re-architecting in partnership with the customer
Okay.
about how we can take what they have and get more out of it. So given it, we talked about the air conditioning. That could easily consume 40% of the power going just to the air conditioning, not to running the AI, not to doing high performance computing or research, just air conditioning. So if we could minimize that, maybe take that down from 40 to 20, the rest of that power could go to the IT itself and be used for good, be used for some kind of business value. And that's a big part of what we're talking to clients about.
Yeah, I love how you're focused on, let me just bring it down from like 40 to 30, 30 to 20%, because I feel like we get so overwhelmed a lot of the times, whether it's like overwhelmed in, keeping up with AI technology or overwhelmed with all the sustainability efforts we need to put in. But it's really just about those small steps make such a big difference.
Yeah, I think people need to be comfortable that there's no single silver bullet here. It is really, it's incremental improvement. It's how do I make a difference here, and how do I make a difference in what power I buy, and how do I make a difference in how much power I'm consuming per server. It's all those things together that are really going to make the difference overall. The big one is going to be when the grid itself goes green. That's a decade and a half out from now.
Right.
So we got to do a lot between now and then to do our part.
So for all the IT professionals listening to this, what can they do today to help their, workforce, their data centers be more sustainable?
Yeah, I think the first thing they should look at is right sizing the AI itself, and we can help with that. So you're reading a lot about these very big GPU machines and things like that. Not everybody needs that. Much of the AI that's running today can run on something like that laptop or a small edge device, something that could be, attached to the wall right here. Very lightweight, very low power. So first thing is make sure you're not overdoing it with the AI you're trying to buy. Not all AI takes those 10 kilowatt big expensive servers. A lot of it is very lightweight. It's just right sizing for the job. So I think that's the first part. Second part is think about how much of your power is going to those things that don't provide business value. How much is going to air conditioning? How much of it's going to fans? Let us think about how we can do smarter things with that power. One example that I love is in Massachusetts, they have a thing called the Massachusetts Green High Performance Computing Data Center. It's on the Connecticut River. They get 90% of their power from hydro. So 90% of their power is coming from a renewable source. They liquid cool those servers. So we don't have to have air conditioning. We wouldn't need chilling. At some point, if they wanted to, they could actually take the water that comes out of the server, which is very, very hot water, and they could use that to heat buildings. I mean, it gets kind of cold in Massachusetts in the winter.
Mhm.
They could actually use that water to heat the buildings next door, even their neighbors' buildings, and maybe free up more power that could go into the data center to run more research. So it's kind of some cool things that we can do.
Yeah, very like circular.
It is absolutely.
And that's similar to what you're all doing with reusing or upcycling different tech devices.
Yeah. So we talked about operating the systems and how that we want to make sure we're doing that. But hey, if you're let's say you're replacing IT gear, the IT gear you have on the floor, it still has value. There's steel in there, there's plastics and there's heavy metals in there. Let us take that back. We have something called asset recovery services. We can go out, we survey what you have, we take all that stuff back. We actually write the customer a check for the value of the gear because a lot of times it has value.
Right.
We'll literally sweep the floor so it's nice and clean for the new stuff to come in. But then we'll close the loop on all that old stuff. We have mandates at Lenovo that certain percentages of our products have to be post-consumer recyclable. Those
Oh,
post-consumables got to come from somewhere. We want them to come from that old gear that we're taking off the floor. The
it
carbon,
could be any
it could be
Yeah.
any brand. It
Oh,
could be any brand. It could be any IT. It could be laptops. It could be servers. It could be storage.
okay.
Anything out there. We'll find a way to recycle it. Sometimes we'll upcycle some of the parts and use them for replacements for some customers. Other times we'll recycle the base components, the steels, the zincs, the aluminums, things like that. They all have value. And the carbon footprint of the steel and of the aluminum we recycle is far lower than the carbon footprint of generating new virgin material. So we're helping close the loop on that. And then we make sure that all the servers we're building today are like designed to be 100% recyclable.
Okay.
So at the end of their life, we'll be able to do the same thing again.
Well,
Nice. Yeah.
yeah, very cool. So if you have old gear, just call Lenovo.
Absolutely. We can definitely consolidate that.
That's amazing. So, talked about this a little bit, but
Yeah.
are there other kinds of services that Lenovo has like offers different organizations to reduce the overall power consumption in the data center?
Yeah, I think one of the ones that we don't talk about very often as a kind of a sustainability thing is something we call TrueScale.
Okay.
It's an as a service offering that we do. One of the nice things about TrueScale is we monitor and manage the system for the customer. So we make sure that it's always running as optimally as we possibly can. We actually meter the use of the server based on its power consumption. So we can tell exactly what it's consumed from a power perspective. And when it's not being used, we can put it into these low power states. So instead of having something that's running at, all the time at these peak loads, with TrueScale, we put it in. As you need it, you consume it. As you don't need it, we'll power it down. So that's a great way just to minimize the amount of power consumption you've got and lower the impact just without having any negative impact on the business because we'll turn it on and off as you need it.
Oh, so it's very customized.
Extremely customized.
Okay.
It's there when you need it.
So, are there any other things that we didn't touch on that you'd love to talk about with regarding like Lenovo and how you're really embracing the circularity of things with, the onset of AI and the growth of power consumption to make the world a more sustainable place?
Oh man, there's so many great uses of AI. Again, I know AI right now is getting a little bit of a kind of a bad rap because it's consuming quite a bit of power, but the good that it's going to do. We've been investing in something called high performance computing, which is very similar to AI for 2 decades now. and the work that's coming out of that in research for healthcare. And you're originally from Florida, right? So that hurricane that just came through and hit south of Tampa, we knew exactly where that hurricane was going to go 4 days in advance. They could almost pinpoint where that hurricane was going to go. That's only because of research on weather forecasting and weather models all being done in this type of IT. So again, it has tremendous value. What we're going to see with AI is we're at the very, very beginning of it, but it's going to be game changing for the world. So we're really excited about it.
And I think that's what's so important. I think we need to focus on the positive because a lot of times we think, you hear the conversations, it's going to take over people's jobs. It's just we live in this AI powered robot world where everyone knows so much information about ourselves. People are nervous about protecting their data. And then there's the whole, environmental issue. But if we just focus on the positive that it will do for humankind and for our progress, and then make, our best effort to protect the environment and, also just our way of living to make it still where there's this human to human connection.
Yeah, right. Exactly. No doubt. So AI as a consumer, we're used to having AI all around us, but we no longer think about it as AI. So if you have an Alexa device at home or a Google Home device and you say, hey, turn on the lights or, show me the camera or whatever, that's full of AI. It's just totally embedded in the way that we work, in the way that we live. It's we want the same thing in enterprise. We just want it integrated into workflows to make it all better. I really don't believe that we're going to see AI replace jobs. I think what is likely, however, is that a engineer that is using AI to supplement their skill set is going to replace an engineer that isn't. So it's more about augmenting our own intelligence or improving our own efficiencies, and it is about replacing human beings. Like we can use AI to read radiology exams. We can easily do that. It will not replace the radiologist, but what it can do is allow one radiologist to do a lot more because it can pinpoint to the radiologist where we think they might want to place their efforts. So we're fortunate. We're here in the Research Triangle Park in North Carolina. We've got great hospitals. We've got, Duke. We've got UNC. We've got Wake Med. Not everyone around the country or around the world has that same level of access to skilled radiologists and skilled doctors. If we could use AI to extend the reach of those doctors that are available, those are the kind of things that are going to be game changing for people all around.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Just thinking outside the box of what's possible.
Exactly.
So I have one final question for you, Scott. What does smarter AI for all mean to you?
Oh man. So this is a great one. So, when you hear about AI today, it's mostly about like the big cloud providers. It's about Facebook or Meta. It's about AWS. It's about Microsoft driving AI. And they're doing amazing things with AI. But for AI to really take off, it needs to be everywhere. I want it in everybody's pocket. I want it on everybody's desk, and I want it in everybody's data center. That's the power of true AI. Not all AI can be run in the cloud. Like when I turn my Moto phone on, I use my thumbprint to do that. The AI, the technology that's allowing me to do that is AI. It's identifying my thumbprint. It's running right there on my device locally. The model itself was built in a data center out in the cloud. So it's kind of a hybrid world where we're doing some parts of the AI value chain on the device and some parts out in a cloud or in a corporate data center or what have you. The world is going to be just like that for everything we do with AI. And it's going to be exciting. Yeah. So it's just about putting the right value in the right area of the chain so that you've got basically AI everywhere.
I like
That's what
that.
it's all about. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much,
My
Scott.
pleasure. It was great spending time with you.
Yeah, it was a great conversation. So again, I'd like to thank my guest, Scott Tease, Vice President and General Manager of Lenovo Infrastructure Solutions Group, for stopping by and talking with us today. And thank you for watching. Visit us online to learn more about how Lenovo can support your sustainability efforts while accelerating your AI journey on the road to smarter AI for all.